living organism. These are generally understood to be medical conditions that involve a pathological process associated with a specific set of symptoms. While localized diseases affect specific parts of the body, disseminated diseases spread to other parts of the body, and systemic diseases affect the entire body. As Nigeria and indeed the world battle to contain the ravaging coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, studies indicate that COVID-19 is not among the 10 deadliest diseases in the world. What are these diseases, and why are they deadlier than COVID-19? This edition of Platform examines COVID-19 and other deadlier diseases in the world. Our guest is Dr. John Toh Agbide, a specialist in integrative medicine. He's the founder and chief executive officer in-country Medicare, IML, a consortium of medical doctors and biomedical scientists. After his training at the Ahmadu Bello University's area as veterinary surgeon and years of public service, Dr. John Toh Agbide left for further studies in the United States, where he received graduate training in functional automolecular medicine at the Oregon State University and Oregon Health and Sciences University for his Masters of Science and PhD, with specialization in neurotoxicology, and now practices integrative medicine. Dr. Toh Agbide is a recipient of many national and international awards, a public speaker on wellness and diseases prevention, disease management and reversal, as well as anti-aging medicine using integrative medicine functional modalities approaches. Dr. Toh Agbide is Secretary General and Board of Trustee, Integrative Medicine West Africa, and coordinator of Zone Without Borders, an association of bioactivation therapy in Africa. Welcome to Platform.
It's my pleasure, Kudu.
And with me on the panel to discuss diseases and their general consequences is our in-house medical doctor, Rabi Abdullah, head of NTA's health desk.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Before we delve into the classification, severity of diseases, let's begin with this. What is integrative medicine and what are the functional modalities approaches?
Well, thank you very much, Mohammed. You've actually set up a very fantastic, ground for us, to discuss this. Let's go straight to what integrative medicine is. You see, the practice of medicine has actually changed, especially in the last 3 or so decades. Conventionally, you used to be trained as a medical doctor. You come out, and if you're smart enough, you get specialized based on the distant organ, and based on that you are a cardiologist or urologist or family medicine. But over years, based on our understanding, especially of the cellular activities, the cellular function, using molecular modalities, you now have different aspects of medicine coming up. You have things like lifestyle medicine, sports medicine, and in terms of integrative medicine, it is known by very different names. It is also called personalized medicine because, the approach is rather holistic rather than just looking at the individual. Then it is also known as automolecular medicine. It's also known as functional medicine. And it is also known as cellular medicine. It goes by different names. But to quote it all is the fact that integrative medicine asks the question. Like if you come to me with headache, I don't just go ahead and just give you, Panadol or any of the antipyretic things that will lower your pressure. I'm more interested in finding out what is causing that headache. Why did the pain come about? So this is why it is called integrative approach.
So if I may come in here, from what I've gathered from you, it encapsulates everything about disease diagnosis, treatment and all of that in a very different way that we were used to. It takes cognizance of lifestyle and other maybe emotional, environmental factors and all of that. And that brings us to where we are today. We know that the world is more used to the conventional, okay? You go to see a medical doctor, you're referred for lab tests, clinical diagnosis and all of that. And at the end of the day, whatever is wrong with you is diagnosed and you are given prescription. and it ends there. If it's not working, they review it and probably place you on another form of drug or so. What is the difference between that practice and integrative medicine? What obtains in the world of integrative medicine?
The key word is holistic.
Okay.
Integrative medicine is actually holistic. For example, no person comes to us that will start giving any of our functional modalities, which I was coming to explain, without first looking at the baseline levels of his physiological or blood or biochemical parameters. We send you to the lab. Or if you have past lab results that are within a certain period, not that you take something about 2 years and bring it to the no, we want it to be within a certain period. So once you come, you have that, we know where we are starting with you. And by the way, disease to us, and even in medicine, conventional medicine, is known to start at the cellular level. You remember, the cell is a unit of life. It is when the activities of the cells start failing, and that is what you
manifest
call disease. Manifest as a disease, involving complex processes, what we call pathophysiology. You look at the mechanisms of development of the disease up to the time of manifestations of clinical symptoms. These days, what we've come to know, and it might surprise you to know, that in integrative medicine, we have a common caveat that disease is nothing other than, or disease start from decreased ability of the body cells to utilize oxygen. And what do I mean by that? The oxygen is actually the life. Without oxygen, we cannot be in this place. We would fail. And in terms of disease processes, oxygen is utilized in production of energy, which we call ATP. And that is what the cell depends upon to work and carry out its functional activities. Once there is decreased ability of the body cells to utilize oxygen, the body cannot produce energy, and then the cell starts failing. The cellular integrity also depends on the cell membrane. The cell membrane requires energy, to function, and so many other activities. I will come to the cell membrane later, because, in those days, what we were taught in biology or maybe physiology classes, you will say that the nucleus, which is a part of the cell, that is the center of activity, that it controls. But Mohammed, I'll tell you, these days it's the same membrane that controls, the neutron.
The nucleus.
Yes, the nucleus. Yes. But you see, here again, maybe somebody that went to school some 20, 30 years ago, he was told, and he doesn't want to upgrade his own knowledge, he still thinks that it is the nucleus. The same membrane controls even the nucleus through signal transductions. That is the same membrane as so you can see that the integrity of the cell membrane is very important. So it has to receive the right nutrients so that it forms the right lipid, bilayer that forms, the membrane. I'll come to this later. We talk about things like omega-3. That is one of the major compositions of the cell membrane.
Let's look at the.
But I think you can go ahead and.
Maybe
you have not explained the functional modality.
Okay, the functional modalities. Functional modalities is just a way of putting it. There are certain things that we will put. Take, for example, as I started out with you, there are some of these functional modalities, things like ozone therapy. Then we look at intravenous nutritional therapy. Then we look at things like oxygen therapy. We look at things like infrared, sauna. Those are the various functional modalities that we use in combination to actually fix the cell, give the cell back its own life, including intravenous nutrition. If you want to know, I just talk about, the cell membrane as being the key center. So take, for example, one of the things we do in integrative medicine with our functional modalities, we start first by detoxifying you, because it is as a result of accumulation of toxins in the body that inability of the body cells to utilize oxygen came about. So if we don't remove the toxins, how are you going to, you are just putting things inside? The body operates at a particular pH. If that pH isn't right, for example, in general terms, diseases thrive best under acidic condition, because the pH of the body is supposed to be about 7.4. Now, when that drops, that is when disease, start, thriving. Then the body's ability to utilize oxygen also decreases. So I've mentioned some of those, functional modalities, ozone therapy. You talk about intravenous infusion. Also, some of these things like omega-3, we give them in special quantities that will boost your body up. Things like vitamin D are very popular in the integrative medical practice. Medicine, practice. Things like zinc that boosts your immune system. Then you talk about vitamin C. Then we have special products, other natural products, including things like Vitados, which is known to be anti-inflammatory, as well as analgesic, as well as has direct cytotoxic effect on the cancer cells.
Okay, from your analysis, integrative medicine doesn't seem to have really gained ground in this part of the world. And if we have such alternatives, away from the conventional that we're used to, what are the hiccups? What are the barriers that's not allowing or militating, it's thriving in this part of the world?
Yeah, Rabbi, I want to be polite here, but also I'm also Hausa speaking, and Hausa is very expressive. If we were speaking in Hausa, I would have just put it in a very simple word, that jiharchi.
Jahilchi.
Yeah,
ignorance.
Ignorance, period. People don't know, and some of them don't want to know for various reasons. Some of them, it is
or they are lazy to advance their knowledge.
Yeah, but today, honestly, all that I'm saying, and I have had the opportunity to be on programs like this, as I was talking, people were checking me out. Just go to the internet. And talking about the internet, you also want to be very careful. Like some people will just go to the internet and they want to become doctors overnight. It doesn't happen that way. So go there, but read the information, but know how to synthesize. But everything is on the internet. You can check whether somebody is talking sense or is just making up. So that is the truth. So it is something that we believe, and let me put it very bluntly. Medical world or medical practice has no other option than integrative medicine. It is coming to us. Places like US, if you go there now, that were really conservative before. And here again, I'm not calling that modern medicine, conventional medicine doesn't have a role to play. Take, for example, if somebody came to us with a case of, fracture, I'm not going to say we're going to use integrative modalities in fixing the fracture. He will be sent to the hospital where the surgeon will attend to him and then, fix him up. But integrative medicine actually addresses the problem from cellular level. That is to say that at the end of the day, we fix the problem so that you do not go back to the condition that you keep on taking drugs over and over. And I'm not calling for abolishment of conventional medicine, but I'm telling people that there is an alternative.
Well, it appears you have a big challenge because you are Secretary General, Integrative Medicine West Africa.
Yes.
So if there is, in your words, substantial ignorance or laziness to seek more knowledge, to bring about the holistic approach or the integrative approach, it appears partly you are to blame.
Well, not really the blame heaping on me.
I said partly.
Oh yeah, partly. Yeah, I agree. But we've also just started. How many years have we started? We've just started, and I'm telling you, I'm glad to report to you that 2 days ago, I added on to our membership 12 members, and 10 of these members are medical doctors, MD degrees. Yes, because they've come to see the light that there is an alternative. And again, what I'm saying, we're not practicing something something out of the blues. I'm talking about micronutrients. Didn't we learn about micronutrients in school? Or if we talk about pathophysiology of the disease, as I would like us to talk about, COVID, 19.
Yeah.
You've got to understand, go to the cellular level. when this virus gets into the body, how is it causing the destruction which you laid in your introduction? What are the activities that is making this patient now to have pain? What are the activities that are actually changing in the body that is making this person to have difficulty in breathing? What are the activities in the body that are going to, if you tested the lab and you saw that the liver enzyme levels, what you call ALT, got elevated. What happened to the liver that it made its own enzyme to be elevated? Or the kidney that got the creatinine or BUN, that blood urea nitrogen, to be elevated? So all these things should be put together in that context.
At the mention of complementary and alternative medicine, countries such as India and China readily come to mind. Talking about integrative, where would you say it's originated from? And how much has it really gained ground? And what sort of ailments is it popular when it comes to treatment?
Well, Rabi, thanks a lot for that question. Let me take this opportunity to really clarify or lay the ground. The terms integrative medicine, complementary medicine, alternative medicine, there is need for clarification. See, when somebody comes to me and I said, oh, you guys are practicing alternative medicine, I wasn't trained to try, in alternative medicine, I asked you, what are we alternating about? Or if you accuse us of, you guys are doing complementary, what are we complementing about? The whole thing is integrative. And as I've just given you an example, if you look at the membership of integrative medicine in West Africa, 50-60% are medical doctors. Actually, our president, Dr. Ayodele Keru, who actually introduced ozone therapy in Nigeria, is an MD. He's also a fellow of the West African College of Physicians. He's an examiner. You have so many. As of now, our membership, almost 10 of them are fellows of West African College of Physicians.
What about outside the shores of the subcontinent? I'm talking about where it originated from.
And that's why I use that word, which Mohammed actually showed me how to pronounce it. But I'm telling you, if you go to India, what they are practicing or what is driving the Indian health care system is integrative medicine. If you want to know, in China, what we consider conventional medicine here is the reverse there. That is what they do. Go to even America. There is a group known as The Truth About Cancer. If you see that group, which is over 2,000 medical doctors that have come together looking at different ways, they're simply using what I'm saying, so much has come up. You talk about proteomics, you talk about genomics, you talk about automolecular, medicine. These are facets that have developed. You put in these pieces of information together to look at the body and then come up with, this. Nobody is doing traditional this. Although even traditional, you got to be careful. The criticism about traditional medicine, as I shared last time, about 2 weeks ago, I visited a place just within Abuja. There's a young man who has set up a hospital, traditional hospital. You go there, it's amazing. And if you look at the track record of what he's doing is basically, scientific. And you see complete cases that were not being able to be handled, especially metabolic diseases. If you see what he combines, and he uses some of these, and he treated them with fantastic results. So what are you going to tell them? Take, for example, let me elaborate. We use ozone therapy in arresting crisis. This is sickle cell crisis. Just come with the child here who is in crisis. Within 5 minutes of ozone therapy, you see them smiling. Then somebody will come and challenge that. What are you doing? What is it? I said that even God gave us oxygen to take free. What you are giving to this is because of his own, he is in a hypoxic state. His body tissues are they lack the ability to utilize oxygen. So you supplied into that immediately, and that's why he had that instantaneous relief. And when we come to COVID-19, we're going to discuss this.
Now,
Because
let's talk.
Yes.
Let's discuss the 10 deadliest diseases.
Yes.
Because the little research I did before coming to this program told me that out of the 10 deadliest diseases in the world, COVID-19 is not even among them.
No.
And I was amazed.
Because it's new. It's new. It's
now,
innovative.
now let's talk about the 10 deadliest. Then we come to COVID-19. What will, in medical parlance, do you consider the 10 deadly diseases?
Well, depending on how you're looking at, but in that order, the common ones, you see, you have cancer. Cancer is really bad. You have hypertension or cardiovascular diseases, including stroke, and then others. Then you have things like diabetes. They're all on that, list. Then you look at about, this is what you call the non-communicable diseases. You also have infectious diseases.
Hepatitis.
You talk about hepatitis, you talk about HIV came and devastated us, it's still with us, despite the fact that we've made some efforts in containing them. Those are really top on the list. And to your question, why
Is malaria
COVID-19? Malaria is, but of course, and if you look at it, malaria kills even more people than some of these things that we're really getting frightened on. We don't kill children, adults, and this. Only that we don't have the proper, documentation, or either it is actually endemic with us and it lives with us, and then we take it, for granted. But malaria
So
kills.
a layman like me can say COVID-19 is the 11th deadliest, is it?
Well, depending on the classification, if you want to classify it like that. But you see, before you make any of those classifications, you've got to get enough data. You would have seen the case of the, fatalities. How many deaths have actually been caused as a result of, COVID, 19. Then you can plug it in.
Since it has a relationship with pneumonia, can it be looked at from that perspective? Is pneumonia considered as one of those standard lists?
Standard what? Say that again.
Pneumonia.
The 10 deadliest.
The 10 deadliest diseases.
What is pneumonia?
You tell us.
You see, Mohammed, let's really be careful, because if you go on this, let's be serious here. Even the COVID-19, I had an instance where I was told that COVID-19 is a viral pneumonia. But today, in the latest research that is showing, even following postmortem that they have done on COVID-19 dead bodies in Italy, Spain, America, India, China, it shows that what they call the pathognomonic lesions that you see in pathology does not depict that of pneumonia. A classical thing. And these things are on the internet. You can go and check. And even from authoritative sources, people say there is what they call, if you medical doctors when they are making, diagnosis of COVID-19, one of the key things they look at is what they call ground glass opacity. Ground glass opacity. This is what we call a pathognomonic lesion that is bilateral in the lungs. You will see it. That is what they see on either X-ray or CT scan, and they say, yes, this has pointed out to be COVID-19.
And that's what is responsible for the cough?
Well, the cough is as a result, that the primary deletion site for the virus, once it gets through our respiratory system, is the lungs. Is the damage in the lungs that goes to cause some pulmonary irritations that you cough. Is as a result of so much destruction that goes on in the lungs that actually, before I forgot, now they are saying from the postmortem results that they've seen that the pathophysiology is more associated with a condition known as hypoxia. It's not that the lungs, are lacking, oxygen, but it is the body cells and tissues that are lacking oxygen. And if you want to go in, let me explain this further. What's really happening? Once the virus gets into the body, I had earlier said that oxygen is everything. Central. The hemoglobin, which is a pigment in our blood, red blood cells that carries oxygen. This virus goes and destroys it.
I see.
The virus has, the hemoglobin has iron, which is called Fe. That is the central atom that holds the heme group together. So the virus goes and breaks this iron. Once it breaks that iron, what happens is what you put it in physiology, that you have a dissociation, oxygen dissociation curve. The curve is to the left, the curve is to the right. When it is to the right, that is where there is enough of oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange at the alveoli of the lungs. Once that destruction is made and the ion is released, then the shift is to the left. That means that the hemoglobin can no longer carry oxygen, and that is one of the key.
And the carbon dioxide carries over.
Because the carbon dioxide doesn't have to be in exchange. So if the oxygen is no more there is no way there will be that exchange, gas exchange.
So then what function does the ventilators do then? If
the mechanical ones.
I want to be careful here. You don't want to get me in, but honestly, based on what we have come to know now, what the experts are saying, ventilators, okay, but haven't come to understand the pathophysiology of this disease. Know that the guy doesn't is because not that his lung is not capable of using oxygen, so you will put oxygen into him, but it is because the body tissues and cells, because of what I had described by that oxygen
dissociation.
Yes. That's why the cells are not having, and it is also true. You can say that the effect is actually what I call pan-global or pantropic. What do I mean by this? Oxygen is key. If the liver doesn't have enough oxygen, it will not function properly. And that iron that was released into the blood, it has to go to the liver. The liver is trying to handle it. The liver is the center of accumulation of, toxins. It's trying to handle. That is what leads to liver toxicity. And you see elevation of those, enzymes, the ALT in particular, which is very, very, characteristic. Then, so the ventilators, if you go on, they now say, ventilators can come in, but please, based on the pathophysiology of this disease, let's not put that as the primary guide. Ventilators can be used, especially in late stage. It can be used. But looking for ways of giving oxygen directly into the cells and tissue. They've done it in India, in Sri Lanka, or China, Spain, and this. They have come up to see that they are able to help the patient very well. I'm not calling for abolition of ventilators, no. But as we have been told, some of these things that maybe conventional medicine had learned and done over years, based on molecular understanding and ongoing research, as I'm saying things are changing.
Have there been any research to find out the real reason why the virus goes to attack the hemoglobin? And how do you stop that?
Well, you see, the virus just goes, once the virus gets into the blood, that is, a chemical reaction or physiological reaction that goes on. It attacks the hemoglobin, and then the iron is released, and that's what you call the oxygen dissociation curve. What we know, and I can discuss with you, is what you call the predilation site. You have the alveolar cells, they have receptors, which this virus would come in and attack. There is what you call angiotensin converting enzymes, that the ACE2 receptors. Then you also have the protein spikes. By the way, this virus has spikes when they come onto that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Broadly speaking, drugs or whatever you are developing that is of medical benefit or therapeutic benefit, there are acts by three mechanisms. It's either they are ion channels mediated, or either they are cyclic AMP mediated, or they have an effect on the receptors. Receptor mediators, ion channel mediators, or cyclic AMP mediated. So if you want to look at it, that is the understanding.
I know that at some point China, resorted to using all sorts within their their reach to treat their patients. At the beginning of
using what?
I'm saying that.
You mean COVID-19
yes,
patients?
I'm talking about China now.
Yes.
That they deployed all sorts of
modalities.
Yes, to treat their COVID-19 patients. And I want to ask, will it be out of place to ask you if back home, I'm talking about Nigeria now, we have our peculiarity. I want to ask you, what you think will be the reason why maybe seeing something that works in in certain countries that will not be receptive towards such? The ozone therapy you talked about earlier on. Is this something that China, India, the US is equally embracing to treat their COVID-19 patients?
Oh yes, they have. Spain, Italy, Brazil, Cuba, they're using that.
And we have documented,
Oh yeah, you see,
documented results
these things have,
all of that.
Yeah, they've just started, but we have the documented publication. Only you are too busy. I start pushing some of those things to you. You read and see. But on a serious note, to answer your question, see, Jumai, as well as I do, this word.
Did you say Jumai?
Sorry, Rabi. Sorry, my dear. Rabi.
Maybe that's Madame's name.
You're right. On a serious note, these things are a little bit more complex. And I'm glad here, our president, in his first speech, he said this NCDC is going to use all the guidelines provided by the WHO, as well as we should also look at our own local content.
Looking inward.
I think that aspect should not be taken lightly. We have so many things here that can help us. But if we believe that it is what we are presented, inward, outside garbage, we would use, we have very smart people here, scientists, renowned. Nigerians are captains of scientific research, even within the country. The contemporaries here, they are also doing what they need to be encouraged. Like, if I have my own way, I would like to see a component of the presidential task force. There should be a think tank group of very brilliant scientists that should be met. And when I mean scientists, you have medical doctors, scientists, pharmacists, all other professions working together. One of the tasks I would task them is they should look at what other places are also doing. Not just using the WHO guidelines,
what they are doing that it is also successful, and then critically analyze how does that fit our own local content inward. That group should be in place.
What are your thoughts on a celebrated case of Oyo State Governor Makinde,
the one that ate
talking about the black seed oil, vitamin C, and honey? A combination of that curing his COVID-19 symptoms.
You see, here again, we go to, the basis of this discussion. Some of the things that he did, if it gave results, you should have some scientific minds sit together and look at it critically, analyze it. You'll be surprised. Some of the things he did are things that are being used in other parts of the world, and it has worked. But if you just have that habit or insinuation of just dismissing it because you know it all and nobody should come and tell you any other thing, we would be defeated. We will not make as much progress. We'll be shortchanging ourselves.
Will you adopt that as part of your integrative functional approach?
Of course. And what I'm telling you, in integrative medicine, and don't get me right, integrative medicine is actually practiced by, medical doctors, so you cannot call these guys, quacks. The only difference, they have raised the horizon of, knowledge. Just like I look at the disease starting from the cellular changes, which are the early events that led to the perturbation of activities. So I look at it that. So I would have to investigate, and we do so many things. The only thing we don't do, we don't go into the bush and grab herbs and come and put in the pot and then give somebody, because that is not our own training. Not that those things don't work, but they have the safety, and the dosage has not been pharmacopically classified. So we don't do that. But any of these modalities that I have explained to you, that you do, you mentioned what and what that he
black seed oil.
Black seed oil is fantastic. Honey is fantastic.
Vitamin C.
Vitamin C. If you want to look at the protocol for management of COVID-19, it also includes the use of vitamin C, and that brings me to the point. Vitamin C is very, very important. It's one of the most potent antioxidants that you can know. Vitamin C also has a direct effect on the virus. So, he was right. The only thing I would like to add here is that use this thing in the appropriate dosages. If you're not using them in the appropriate dosages, you will not see that. And that's why you need the consultation of an expert.
And still on this COVID-19, do you see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, just before I came in here, I received an article from one of a very brilliant guy. This guy is an MD, PhD, fellow, this, and honestly, I'll make that copy available for you to read. You have read it?
I don't think I have.
Check your email.
Okay.
Anyway, COVID-19, even in the United States, I was also following up, and that's why we need to take it very, very serious. And this is not to create fear. If we don't take time, I'm not a question of taking time. We've not come to the real peak yet. We've not come to the real
That's
peak.
in Africa or Nigeria?
Well, even in Nigeria. Because look at it. This is the way it should be done. You are looking at the problem. The first thing you would have done is to seal your borders so that you don't have any of the index cases coming.
Yes, importation.
Once that came in, you are battling with what they call the tracking, testing,
Tracing.
and then treat.
Tracing.
Then testing and then treat. So you're hoping that you use this triple T, to actually contain the disease and stop it at that level. But as of now,
it is spreading.
We're dealing with community infection.
Community transmission.
This is what we're doing. And with community transmission, it becomes a lot more complicated. And that's why we're saying that the lockdown, total social distancing should come in to really help us, what they call, flatten the curve.
So what are you advocating now? More public awareness? More lockdown?
It's more than more public awareness. Public awareness is very fantastic. Lockdown is, even when they started, I said it categorically, that let's not take it lightly. The least we can do is a 28 days, lockdown, and it actually came to that. It's a big sacrifice, but that is one of the major ways we can, be able to contend. Because when you do this lockdown, you reduce the level of community, transmission.
Okay.
Then you are able to track the cases and then monitor them, and you'll be able to contain it better than leave everybody going all over the places. And people should take it very seriously.
Okay, our worries now is the scale of infection and fatalities. The scale of infection, transmission, and fatalities. Mm-hmm. If we can cut down all of that, mm-hmm. we could say at some point we'll be out of the woods. Mm-hmm. But at individual levels, what should we be doing such that even if one get infected, mm-hmm. the impact will be minimal?
Yes.
So that it doesn't even become a fatality.
The emphasis should not be on just social distancing, great, total lockdown, great, this thing and this, treatment, ventilators, this and this, great. But your population, or you or me, that is not affected, how do I prepare myself against this? Should COVID even come? That's what most nations, that's why nobody can just go on and attack America anyhow. She's prepared. The Air Force is great. The Marine is great. The infantry is also great. So I'm trying to make an analogy with our own bodies. We should make our bodies to be prepared so that when the virus comes in, our body can withstand it. Talking about viruses, our DNA has over 40 different viruses in our bodies. The only thing the immune system is checking them. And that's why we don't have expression or manifestation of a disease. So if we have a very good immune system, and which should not be negated, because now the emphasis is on social distancing, great. Which other what? Social distancing, and then
staying at home.
Staying at home, total lockdown, and all that, and the great ways of showing you how to cough and do something.
Individual or group increase or strengthen their immune system?
Okay.
What should they do?
Let me give you simple this thing. Just like you have 7 days in the week, I'll just list those things that individuals should be doing along with taking some specific supplements. Number one, the type of food you take is very important. Make sure you eat quality food. Avoid some of these refined oils. Eat the right oil. Red palm oil is very important. Take lots of omega-3. There are ways of getting omega-3 from fish or from, we have the special flaxseed oil. Let me go over. Then the number 2, okay, detoxify. You remember I talked about toxins in the body, so that your body's ability to utilize oxygen will be superb, so that you don't have an acidic body that encourages the proliferation and this and about a disease. Even one of the things, before I get digress, one of the things that even hydrochloroquine that helps, if you look at it, the mechanisms in the disease, that is COVID disease, it is able to lower the pH so that the virus does not replicate. This is where
that's what
one of the mechanisms, that chloroquine, does, as well as prevention of it, the virus attacking to the receptors. But let's go back to these 7 things that I'm talking. I've talked about food. I've talked about
omega-3.
Yes, omega-3.
Detoxification.
Detoxification. Then exercise. Do the right type of exercise. It is very important. Because when you exercise the body, it also helps you, build your own immune system. Okay, Then there is what we call use of supplements. What are these supplements? Things like what? Vitamin C, we've talked about already. Vitamin D, that have a direct role in enhancing your immune system. Use some. Zinc is another great one. You know, the combination of zinc with vitamin C and some of these antiretrovirals as well as chloroquine is one of the suggested protocols, you know, for management of, you know, COVID-19. Then we're talking about spirituality. Is very important. Whatever you are doing, know that there is somebody creator there so that you can have fear. You can organize your life. You don't go into excessive indulgence of some of these things. Okay. Then things like stress management. Stress has a direct effect on our immune system. When you engage in activities that actually exacerbate or increase your stress level, it will down-regulate your immune system. Then, what again? Sleep is very, very important. Make sure you have adequate, sleep. And I've talked this over and over about adequate sleep. I'm sure Rabi would like to hear the story of melatonin again. Yeah, but I've said it over. Do we have time for it?
Yeah, you can quickly say it.
So, why adequate sleep? Adequate is the key word because it is recommended that we have about 7 to 8 hours of sleep daily. And this 7 to 8 hours shouldn't just be start sleeping from 12 noon till 8 p.m. There's, I got 8 hours of sleep.
That's a disorder.
No, that is not adequate. That is not proper, sleep. The proper sleep is between the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. Why is that critical? There is a hormone in the body known as melatonin. Melatonin actually regulates your body activities. And God made us to be sleeping at night. As the evening starts coming, you see that our body's metabolic activity starts getting shortened, slowing down. Yeah. And that's why, let me make this point again. When you see people jogging in the night or in the evening, it is wrong. Your body is already shortened down. Why are you trying to keep it, active? Jog in the morning, not at night. So that melatonin, if you look at it, once the night starts coming like this, or the darkness starts coming, melatonin secretion starts going up. It starts from, once there is darkness, maybe 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. it starts the secretion. At about 10 p.m., that's the time.
It's the peak.
Peak, thank you. Maybe you had one of these physiology classes. So that's the time it actually peaks. Then, by 12, it now plateaus up to 2 p.m.
2 a.m.
2 a.m., sorry. 2 a.m. From 2 a.m., then it starts dropping. By 4 a.m., it is gone. So if you don't sleep within these hours, you are missing your melatonin cycle. And melatonin is what you call a bioidentical hormone. It is produced by our body. Talking about, the functional modalities that we use, one of the things we give to our patients is actually melatonin. Because most people, they have poor sleep hygiene. They don't sleep well. They have one problem or other due to accumulation of toxins.
Especially when they advance in age.
Exactly. With a lot of stress, a lot of social stress, economic stress, and then other stresses on you. That becomes... So this melatonin actually helps. So almost all our patients, we give them melatonin. And if you want to know, even in the presence of this COVID-19, specialists have recommended that you should boost your melatonin levels, increase the doses.
At what point do you get your melatonin level boosted? If you maybe have the opportunity of having your required 8 hours sleep per day?
Very good question. Rabbi, I'm going to tell you, what's really happening, melatonin is more than a sleep hormone. I'm talking laying emphasis on sleep. It's more than that. It has over 20 different other functions, including detoxification, rejuvenation of your cells. So you're not just taking melatonin to make you sleep well, but you're taking melatonin to detoxify your body, as well as rejuvenate your cells, make the oxygen even flow better. So we really need it.
So talking about melatonin, let's go forward now and talk about anti-aging.
Yeah.
Are there correlations?
Fantastic. Yeah. One of the things we do at our center is anti-aging medicine. And you see, anti-aging, because if you don't sleep well, the cells are not rejuvenated. You look at your cell membrane, and what we do in anti-aging is to rebuild your cell membrane. And that's what, once we start you on our anti-aging program, you start seeing your skin, it will start fresher. Because we're boosting you with, omega-3. Building that membrane, cell membrane.
Dr. John Toh Agbide, it appears we can't exhaust you enough in terms of the knowledge you have of this integrative medicine. No wonder you are the founder, chief executive officer, in-country Medicare. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
It's my pleasure, Kudu. And once again, I close with my medical disclaimer that I'm not making diagnosis or making prescription here. It's for purposes of knowledge. And once again, I want to thank NTA for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming. Of course, Dr. Rabi Abdullah, our head of NTA, have that
Disclaimer.
Her disclaimer is that she says she is quack. But
No, she's doing a
but I
fantastic
think
job.
you have given her some certification already.
She's doing a fantastic job.
Thank you so much. In the last 50 minutes, we examined COVID-19 and other deadlier diseases in the world. Dr. John Toh Agbide, an expert in integrative medicine, dwelled extensively on diseases prevention, diseases management, and reversal, including anti-aging medicine, using the integrative medicine functional modalities approaches. Dr. Toh Agbide also spoke extensively on the coronavirus pandemic and the way forward. That's Platform. I am Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.